Good morning and welcome to Upzone, where understanding politics is made simple. We are your two hosts. I am Tisha S. Waddell, former City Council representative for the 3rd District in the city of Fayetteville, North Carolina, and Mr. Elmer Floyd, former House
House
representative for
representative.
the 43rd, I know, for the 43rd District in the state of North Carolina. I know. And we are here to help you in the process of understanding politics to just make it a little bit easier to follow and connect the dots. Mr. Floyd, how goes all today?
See, so far so good. I don't have no complaints. The weather has been cold, and my creditors. And the beautiful thing, Keith, was the weather on Monday. I got none of my calls because they said the wind may be greater than 40 miles an hour. So many
Yeah.
organizations closed down. So Monday, no calls.
Yeah,
Great.
we were very blessed to be spared from some very
Yes.
impactful winds. Some people not so much. So I
Very.
was very grateful that we didn't have a whole
Yes.
lot of issues here.
Yes. I was glad that they closed up. Because of the seriousness of the storm, and also our school system too. So,
Absolutely.
but
What announcements do you have for us today?
Teach, now this is beautiful. I want to share this with you because I've been announcing it for a long period of time that about the Democratic convention. It's going to be
Mm-hmm.
this coming Saturday, and it's going to be at FTCC.
Okay.
Before it was a registration, and you will find out about where the meeting would be. So I'm happy to announce that it will be at Fair Protect. And don't
Okay.
forget now, prepare yourself for April the 29th for the Dogwood Festival. And Tish, we're gonna have two data center meetings. One is going to be at the on the 21st at the Bordeaux Library at 4
Okay.
p.m. to look at the data center conversation. And then the County Board of Commission is going to have one on the 23rd of this month at the courthouse, which is at I believe is 117 Dick Street. And
Mm-hmm.
then on the 26th, we have Mr. Tyson with the County Board of Commission because there was some concern that he have about three recommendations as it relates to consolidation possibly of the health center and the Department of Social Service. So we just want to hear what his views are on that. Some person wanted to hear both sides of it. And
Okay.
also, Mike Skowski on April the 2nd is going to come on and talk to us about when
Let me say his last
President
name.
and
Let me say his last name.
yes, yes, please do.
Nagowski from Cape Fear. Mike
Oh,
Nagowski.
okay,
I
okay.
got you.
Thank
I
you for
got you, Mr. Floyd.
that.
It's plenty of names you say much better than me.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
good then. And
I
then we
got you,
have
friend.
the thank you. Then we have the NAACP that's going to meet this coming Saturday. I'm sorry, Sunday at 4 p.m. Yes,
And is this their
7:07.
basic meeting, Mr. Floyd?
Yeah, yes, their monthly meeting.
Okay, and where's it going to be?
And that's going to be at 707 Murchison Road. That's at
Okay.
4 p.m. There. So, we and then Tish, I had an opportunity to attend Sandy Cookman homegoing service. Very, you know, it was the who's of Fayetteville that was in attendance.
Hmm.
It was well attended there. And at that same day, we heard I guess it was the county state of the county message there, but we can go into that after we have our speaker, which is, Brenda Jackson, which is the director of the Department of Health and Human Services. And we wanted to know basically how the federal federal bill look at how it affect the state and the county. So just want to
Hmm.
get from her, that perspective there because one of those things that's passed down to them was the administrative costs, which may cause the county to find a little over $3 million to do the
Hmm.
administrative costs there to manage the SNAP program and other programs that's coming through that process. So
Okay.
we, she has agreed to come on, and so I don't know if you have a tune in now or just, but
No, she's not in yet. We told her about
okay,
9:40. So, Mr.
okay.
Floyd, did you want to talk about any of the events or activities that that you attended this weekend or this
Well,
week thus far?
I attended the state of the county, and it was a well put together communication speech there, wherein that the county manager talked about water, he talked about sewer, he talked about growth, he talked about the Coliseum and the renovation there, and what they want to do was the economic picture around the Coliseum to build it so it can be more, more attractive, to have more, activity there. Then he
Mm-hmm.
talked about the Art Natural, the data center. I'm not data center, but the communication center. And I attended one of the county commissioner meetings, and one of the comments that was made there, because the county manager responded several times that his communication with the city was oral communication and they were not written communication. And the county, the terminal county commissioner board, it seemed like there was a little bit of tension between his communication and the county manager as it relates to moving this project forward, because it
Mm-hmm.
was something that has been on the table for a period of time. So, but that was one. And then he mentioned too about Godwin. Godwin was seeking water, uh, you know, water for growth, and Godwin does have water now, and I think they have 200 plus unit housing unit that's going to be built there. Then he talked about the children museum, about what they want to do with that, and about what's it, the aquatic center.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about that, and I don't think he mentioned the school bond issue. But I'm just trying to figure out, from my standpoint of view, how much debt can the county carry, or how much debt would the local government allow them to carry? Because at one of their county commission meetings that I attended, there, in which this comes from staff, there was about 8 to 11 presentations, from different, from different presenters, and one of those
Mm-hmm.
about the bond package, the various bond package that was developed to to the uh, to the county. So it was a good, good presentation. But I would love to hear what was the revenue that was generated from the property
Lowest tax
taxes.
rate ever from the lowest property
Yeah,
tax rate ever.
yeah. I want to see from last year budget to this year budget, because the budget is what's going to drive these projects. So we need to know that first, and then I can look at what your vision, uh, going forward
Yeah, and
is
I'll
there.
tell you, and I'll say it's intentionally ambiguous, to highlight the lowest tax rate ever when when everybody's tax bill went up, and so while the tax rate may be the lowest ever, clearly it's driving revenue because we're able to see the generation of the inception of all of these different projects coming forward. So that the increase in the value of the properties most certainly did not reflect the feeling of the lowest property tax rate ever. But
Well,
I understand, I understand it, but there's a level of strategic ambiguity in that.
well, when you look at it, I mean, he did mention that they did fund the county all of their requests the first time. And if I'm not mistaken, I
For
believe
the
they gave the
schools.
county $160 million, and they turned around and gave them another $13 million for retention. So that's $173 million. So where did that money come from? So you're saying that tax revenue neutral, $173 didn't come from a zero budget.
Well, but you
And
have to
and
remember that the property value went up. So even if the tax rate reduced, the value went up. And so the county did anticipate some increased revenue. But that part of the conversation is often absent in the dialogue. But Mr. Floyd, let me say
Yes.
this before we, because our guest is online. Let me say this before we transition. I do think that that Commissioner Devier is one of the most strategic orators that we have in our community. And I think that because of his background, and I'm going to bring that picture up really quickly once more, because of his
Mm.
background in marketing, he understands how to create a brand and deliver it flawlessly. And one of the things that I want everybody to hone in on is the location of the state of the county meeting. Now, typically, the state of the county meeting heretofore had been held where, Mr. Floyd?
At the courthouse, if
At
I'm
the
not mistaken.
Coliseum.
Wait a minute now.
It
Okay.
was held down at the Crown. It was
Okay.
in it was at the Crown. Now this was interesting to me because we have it now here being held in the old courthouse, and it gives a different representation than what you see when you look at state of the county speeches that have been given by other chairmen. As an example, Chairman Glenn Adams. The backdrop is much different. The effect is much different of this speech, and I think that he's so very strategic that all of those things go into play. He's a very nuanced communicator. And so, because of that, you have to take the whole, you have to take it all in. So, I'm really glad that you captured this picture so that our listeners can really be able to engage with the totality. Nothing is by accident when you have somebody who's as effective a communicator and who does branding and marketing for a living. Nothing is unintentional. Setting is not unintentional. The tone of the speech, the information delivered, the presentation, nothing is unintentional. It is all intended to deliver a cohesive, unified message. And I think based upon what I'm hearing you say is that took place.
It took place. It was well communicated. But my thing, and I say to you again, I'm more so concerned of how much tax was generated from the revenue neutral,
Absolutely.
or you know, and then how much debt do you expect to carry the community as it relates to this particular vision? I mean, to all of these visions that he mentioned.
Right. And
Let
effective
me,
communicators, you have to also pay attention to what they don't say.
yes.
Ineffective communicators say everything. They throw everything out. But effective communicators, you have to listen to what is not being said also, because there's critical information in what's not said. Let's go ahead and
Yeah.
bring on Miss Brenda
Okay.
Jackson. She is the director of DSS. Mr. Floyd, if you have any kind words you wish to share as we bring her on, we are bringing in Miss Jackson. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Mr. Floyd, introduce our guest to our audience, sir,
Well,
please.
I consider our guest as I know she's not a graduate of Ohio State University, but when Ohio University graduate mention their institution, they always say the Ohio State
They do.
University. So this is the
We're
Brenda
gonna change
Jackson
this a little bit.
of the Department of Health and Human Services. So welcome to our program. As they say, Brenda, if you don't mind me using your first name, you could have been any place other than sit down in front of Madam Waddell and myself this morning to talk with us about how the bill at the national level is going to affect the state level and also the county level, and see if you can give us some little bits and pieces about what we should expect, although the state have not made a budget yet, but
Right.
what to expect with or without the state budget, how it would affect the state and how it would affect the county, and mostly rural counties.
Yeah. So, good morning. I'm so happy to be here. As you said, I'm Brenda Jackson. I'm the Social Services Director here for Cumberland County. So, when you talk about House Resolution 1, what is known as the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, it is a federal legislation that was passed, sponsored by President Trump and the U.S. Congress. Our role at Social Services is to administer the federal programs on behalf of North Carolina. So any federal legislation that is passed, such as HR 1 or the One Big Beautiful Bill. It's the same name. They call it different things. Sometimes it's called HR1. Sometimes it's called the One Big Beautiful Bill. They are one and the same. And when legislation is passed at that federal level, it then passed through the state, North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, through the North Carolina General Assembly, down to the counties, and county departments of social services are responsible for administering those programs. In this HR1, One Big Beautiful Bill Act, it is a sweeping piece of federal legislation. I've been doing this almost 40 years, and I have never seen a piece of legislation that is so sweeping in terms of impacting both our operation as well as the citizens that we serve. So we'll have to talk about this bill in two different pieces. One piece is, how does it affect those core programs of SNAP? At the federal level, it's called a Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, known as SNAP. What government is known to do is change the name of everything, which becomes confusing to citizens. So Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, known as SNAP in North Carolina, is called the Food and Nutrition Program, FNS. But the common name of it is food stamps. So I definitely want your readers, your listeners to understand that all three of those mean the same. So if you hear SNAP, if you hear food and nutrition, they're really talking about the food stamp program. That is a program that serves our community. It helps with the health and well-being of our community. We have over 32,000 cases, households in Cumberland County that receive SNAP, FNS, food stamps, all one and the same. What we're going to see with this legislation is reduction in benefits. Some of the policies that's already taken into effect started December 1, 2025, where citizens probably saw a decrease in their monthly benefits, where utility allowance is no longer allowed. So for instance, if somebody has a utility bill, before we can count that toward their expenses, meaning they would receive more benefits, that has been taken away. So citizens across the board who are receiving food stamps, I'm gonna call it food stamps just because I think that's what people know it as, probably saw a reduction in their benefits and didn't know why. They would have received a letter, but sometimes those letters are really complicated. The other thing that we're going to see is an impact on our unhoused community. Again, government likes to change names. It's our homeless community. Let's be real about it. It's our homeless community. Those citizens really depend on food stamp benefits. They may not have any income. They may be borderline disabled where they can't get Social Security benefits. And so they depend on those food stamps. Sometimes it's those food stamps that they can, if they're staying with somebody, they can help buy food. They may not be able to pay the rent, but they can help offset the household expenses. So somebody may let them stay with them in exchange for helping to buy food. Or how do they feed themselves when they're out there? If they're in an encampment, it is important for them to have those food stamps to be able to eat. Those food stamps also bring other benefits, such as they're able to get a reduced cell phone. A lot of homeless individuals, that's their only link to their services is that cell phone. Families that have children that are getting free lunch. A lot of people don't know free lunch is a SNAP program. And so if the individuals lose their benefits or have reduced benefits, guess what? They lose free lunch. I strongly encourage you to have the school system come on and talk about this as well. I did talk with the school superintendent, have met with him, and all of our elementary schools and all of our middle school, the entire schools receive free lunch because the percentage of children in that school receive food stamp benefits. And based on that percentage, it makes everybody, whether they get food stamps or not, every child in that school gets free lunch. So this is sweeping legislation. Our veterans community, some of their benefits are going to be decreased. Citizens are going to have to come in more often to get their benefits renewed. Right now, they come in twice a year. Now they're going to have to come in at least 3 times a year. And so it's going to be more paperwork, more opportunities to have to come into the building, reduced benefits. That is major. That is sweeping legislation that has impact on our citizens. And then on our operation, on average, food stamps pays 50% of all of my staff that administer the program, that determine eligibility. We have over 100 staff that do that work. And we're going to receive about almost a $3 million decrease in federal dollars that we get in operations to run the program. Yet the requirements for citizens are going to increase. So the workload is not going to go anywhere, right? But you're going to get reduced money to do the work on behalf of the federal government. And that's not counting Medicaid. This bill also includes Medicaid. So what's at risk? Medicaid expansion is at risk. When Medicaid expansion was passed in North Carolina 3 years ago, we now have over 30,000 citizens that are now eligible and receiving Medicaid expansion. And that is your unhoused population. That is those adults who are borderline disabled, can't get Social Security, and they can now get Medicaid. That program is at risk unless something happens at the General Assembly to save it. Rural hospitals, there are going to be some reductions in their operating monies that they can receive for their operations. And so it will impact hospitals. And then finally, I'm going to say, because I want to give you time to ask me questions too. Finally, I will say about the economic impact that we have on this community. A lot of people don't understand, for every dollar that's generated through their food stamp benefits, through Medicaid, whether it's a doctor's office, whether it is a hospital, a pharmacy, you think about your retail community, your grocery stores, you think about a grocery store, a small grocery store in Stedman or in Linden, a little convenience store, but it serves as a local community grocery. They're going to be impacted because for every dime that's cut or every citizen doesn't receive benefits, those benefits are not coming into our community, into our economy. So for every dollar that's spent in social services programs, it turns over 5 times in this community in terms of the revenue that it generates to the businesses. So this has, when I say sweeping, it's going to affect citizens directly. It's going to affect county operations, and it's going to affect our economy. And so I want people to understand, when you hear House Resolution 1, HR 1 is called oftentimes, or the one big beautiful bill, it has sweeping impacts and will have sweeping impacts to our community. The last thing I'll say is this legislation is going to be rolled out incrementally. And so we're going to start soon. We've already developed our communication plan of getting out in the community and having town hall meetings. And thank you all for having us on Upzone so we can start. You're actually kicking it off for us, our communication plan this morning. So thank you for having us. But we're getting out in the community to talk about it because the way this legislation was developed, it goes out incrementally. So you have pieces of it that was implemented December 2024. There's pieces of it that's going to be implemented in October of 2026. There's pieces that's going to be implemented in January 27. So you're talking 18 months to a year. You're going to incrementally see these changes. And one day citizens are going to wake up and say, well, I'm not eligible anymore. Why my benefits got reduced? Because it's going to happen slowly, but it is going to happen. And so we will be going out talking and meeting and having town halls and community meetings, because this is going to be major over the next 18 months.
Ms. Jackson, what do you think that our community... Okay. Ms. Jackson, what do you think that our community should be bracing for in terms of how we will see this show up when we're just going about our day-to-day activities?
I think the main thing is that citizens need to be prepared in terms of the reduction in their benefits. How are they going to manage? And I don't know about you guys, but I know the price of groceries have gone up tremendously. And so the benefits that they're receiving now probably is not going as far as they did even 2 years ago because the price of food has risen. I think citizens need to continue to be prepared for that. We will be sending information out about, how to buy healthy foods, how to buy foods that you can stretch. It may not be economical to buy the instant microwavable macaroni and cheese. It might be more economical to buy a box and make it from scratch. I talk about a pot of beans. I'm a bean person. So things like that, teaching citizens how to make the dollar stretch and last.
But
so
what
they need to
about for the
start.
citizen that's not getting the benefit? How are they going to? Because often, let's just say the person who's like, well, I don't get food stamps.
That's right.
So what does this have to do with me?
So it
How
may
are
not have,
they going to be affected?
they may think it has nothing to do with them, but it may. So say for instance, an individual who's not receiving food stamp benefits, but their child goes to one of those schools, and all of our elementary schools are, and they haven't had to pay for lunch because that whole school, whether they receive benefits or not, receive free lunch. They may get a letter in the mail. And again, I would encourage you to have the school come in and talk more details. But just to give you an example to your question, so they haven't been paying for lunch, but now they're going to get a note from the school, likely saying, "Hey, because of these changes, it is possible that now you may have to start paying for your child's lunch." It may affect
Now
them on
let me
their
ask you a
jobs.
question.
Yeah,
Let
it
me
may
ask you a
affect their
question that
jobs.
is also part of that. There's two questions I want to ask.
Uh-huh.
One is that the bill also requires, what is it, 80 hours of work within a
That's
30-day
right.
period of time that a
So
person,
there,
part of that evaluation.
yes. So yes, so thank you for reminding me of that. The work requirements, both the SNAP food stamp program and Medicaid for those individuals who are not disabled will be required to have work requirements. And those work requirements could be full-time school, it could be volunteerism, it could be internships and apprenticeships, but they will have to have work requirements. The strange thing about this bill that's making it complicated is that they're going to be requiring work requirements for food stamps and Medicaid. But the problem is they look different. So you can have a citizen receiving both and have two different types of work requirements because they haven't aligned them. And as you know, that is very difficult for some of our unhoused population because of maybe mental health issues, maybe because of physical health issues. How are they then going to be required to volunteer for 80 to 90 hours a month? But it's volunteer, internship, work, or school. And if they don't do any of those
Now,
things, or not capable of doing any of those things, let's talk about capable of doing those things. But we don't want to send the message that there are people out there that's, that whole welfare myth of there's people out there that's lazy, shiftless, not getting and just getting benefits. That is not the case. Work requirements have been in public assistance programs since the 90s. And so, but these are expansive work requirements. And so it will cause people not to receive benefits.
now, what's the average? I mean, Keith may know this more than I, because it's been years since my daughter was in school.
Uh-huh.
Is that the meal? If you pay for the meal, how much is it per meal?
I'm
I
not
guess I'm
sure,
asking.
but I'm like you, my daughter's 24, so I haven't had to
Yeah, I
pay
don't
for
know
school
either.
lunch in a while. I do
Yeah.
not know. I think again, inviting the school to your
Okay.
show, I think they can answer those questions. But
Now,
let me also say about schools. I will say this. I want to talk about what benefits offers for kids that are receiving food stamp benefits, especially high school kids. They're able to take driver's ed for 50% of the cost. They're able to take the SAT at least twice for free for college entrance exams, the SAT. So a lot of
They
things
qualify for
come with
free
these
internet at their home.
free internet at their home. So these benefits are not just a citizen getting a dollar amount. It offers a lot of opportunities for our marginalized individuals and kids, and that makes a difference in a child being able to take the
well,
SAT to go to college.
now you mentioned earlier about how much would it cost for the county to administer, uh, the program. Now, we heard both at the state level and also teach at the local level that they're what they call unfunded mandates.
Mhm.
So if it get to that particular point, how would you, if left to you, quite natural with the county board of commissioners, how would you be able to pay if the figure is $3.5 million?
So the figure is $2.9 million, and it's a recurring cost, meaning
Okay.
we will not get that back. And so that will be a challenge. I have submitted my budget to the county as departments are required to do. We are requesting those funds from the county because of the fact that the work went up. So the workers are going to have to see citizens more often. They're going to have to do all of this work to verify the work requirements. And so the work is not going down. So funding to support it went down, but the work went up. And so I can't speak because I think we're currently in the middle of we being the county in the middle of the budget process. Without those funds, then we could be looking at how will it impact our staffing. Now, I
Well,
don't
let me
think
say
we're
this to
there
you then.
yet. I don't think we're
Let me,
there yet. And I can't speak on behalf of the commissioners or of the county manager because, again, in all fairness to them, they are in the middle of the budget
well,
process. But we have accounted for that loss in our budget, and the county manager and the commissioners are quite aware of the issues, and
The
so
needs.
we're in a wait and see mode on that one.
well, let me say this then. Like Madam, my good friend, Madam Waddell, she believes that everybody has a computer, that we're gonna let the unhoused also use the computer to update their information,
Yeah.
into the system.
Mhm.
So, that's instead of looking at, the increase in staff, we're going to find, computers so they can update and in some kind of way plug into a telegram post and use that as the internet,
Yeah,
Well, think
definitely
about the
use our
to send
public
it.
babysitting.
libraries. Uh-huh.
Let me I want to go back to something because I really want to make sure that our audience understands the vast scope and reach of impact. Ms. Jackson, often people believe that the benefactor of the benefit is the one who's receiving the benefit. Not the benefactor, but the person who is the greatest recipient of the benefit is the one receiving the benefit. But I want to pose this as a reality for us to consider. When a person gets food stamps, Miss Jackson, they are required to use those food stamps at pre-described locations. So that they cannot go to KFC and use their benefit, right?
Right. Correct.
So let's say household A gets $500 in food stamps. Household A takes their $500 in food stamps and they go to grocery store B.
That's right.
Grocery store B now becomes the benefactor of that $500 in revenue. And when
Yes.
you think about corporations, corporations operate based upon their bottom line. Grocery store A does not care where that $500 is coming from, it just goes into their bottom line. This subsidy is not just a subsidy for families. This subsidy subsidizes corporations because they are receiving this money. This money doesn't stay in the household, it
That's
goes
right.
out. The food comes into the household. So corporation B is also going to be losing those
Yes.
dollars. As grocery store B loses these dollars, you, me, Lottie Dottie, and everybody is going to see an increase in their grocery bill because grocery store B doesn't care where they make up the money
That's
at.
right. That's
They're
right.
going to recoup their dollars. So
Exactly.
for all of us who, it's such a nasty sentiment that people have when they say, um, they just need to get out and work and these are my tax dollars and yada yada yada. The truth of the matter is you're going to pay on the front end or on the back end, you're going to pay. And there are people, myself included, who have been a part of receiving these benefits who do go on to do great and meaningful
That's it.
things, but
Absolutely.
they need the support at some time to be able to get through this circumstance. Everybody doesn't have a network that can come in and pick up the slack because they just don't all have that benefit. So I want to encourage, first of all, empathy in our community. I want us to stop being so high on our horses because the truth of the matter is, but for the grace of God,
Amen.
you might need that service eventually. And as we're going through, and of course, and Ms. Jackson, I know that you can probably speak to this to some degree. Of course, there's fraud, waste, and abuse in every system,
Exactly.
but the reality is the fraud, waste, and abuse does not exceed the necessity for that program. So programmatically speaking, I want to say to our audience, while we have Miss Jackson here, don't think that this disruption only affects the people who receive these benefits. We're all going to pay for this. And I think also as we look at our homeless community, There has to be an understanding that when people, and not just our homeless community, but our impoverished community, period, when people experience what they perceive to be desperation, there are consequences that we experience in regards to that also.
Mhm.
Because when people are hungry, they're more likely to run up on you and snatch your purse to steal your money so that they can go and buy whatever it is they're trying to get to feed their children. And I just want us to be mindful of that while this conversation is going on. This is not about politics. This is about people. This is
Well,
about people.
yeah. Let me add to that. I think that you make a good point, and that's why I talk about the economic impact that this will have. We got to talk about a living wage, and the citizens that we serve are marginalized. They're not necessarily impoverished. They're
They're
marginalized, and
marginalized.
they work. 90% of the individuals on food stamp benefits work, and the other
Yes.
ones are disabled. And so what you find though, so just use an example. You got mom works every day at McDonald's, 40 hours a week at McDonald's, but barely making 15, $16 an hour. Then out of that, she got to pay for school items for her kids. She got to pay rent. She got to pay utilities. So our benefits are a supplement. That's what's called supplemental nutritional assistance program. It's helped to supplement that family's income. And so it's about a living wage. I don't care how you cut and slice it. If the United States employees at the lowest level of that spectrum received a fair and living wage, you wouldn't
They
have
wouldn't
these
need
issues.
these benefits.
And so let's be clear, and I think you make a very, very good point that this is not about people that's just sitting home receiving benefits. These are our, and there's a lot of them, it's our service population, the folks who serve us at these restaurants and Starbucks and clean our hotel rooms and those kinds of
The people
individuals
who educate our
that
children.
educate our children. We have so many teachers, aides, bus drivers, all of
Yes.
those. And every day they contribute positively to our community. And those are the individuals that are receiving. And so can you imagine that mom? And that some of these jobs don't offer health care. So they're on Medicaid because they can't get health care through their employer. So you're talking about your self-employed individuals who have a small workforce that are marginalized. And so you make a good point. This is really about a living wage. It really is.
Well, let me
How do we
ask you
individuals have a living
uh,
wage?
Mhm.
another question, and they talked about this at the state of the county when they were saying that one of the things teach that they mentioned with a 99 call center would have a mental
Mhm.
health person, you know, as part of that system. So how would that affect your organization? Will your organization be involved into that planning process with that mental health person or mental health people for, let's say for 24-hour workday?
You switch gears all the way, Mr. Floyd.
Well, I'm just saying we don't, you, you
I know
know,
we don't get Miss Jackson all the time. Go ahead.
yeah,
Call me anytime. Call me anytime. So as far as the 911, we are not really directly involved in that because we don't administer the mental health programs. That is a program that the state went to privatizing our mental health system. Of course, if we have citizens that are served, that they are a mother that has this in a mental health crisis and have kids, and we need to step in and help with where did the kids go, those kinds of things. But as far as just day to day mental health crisis, no. But I will tell you that we struggle with our mental health system in the fact that foster children, we have many, many foster children. We have about 600 kids in foster care. And I'm proud of the fact that when I walked in the door, we had almost 18 years ago, we had almost 1,000 kids. We were 2 kids short from having 1,000 kids in foster care. And we've gotten that number down to right about 600 kids in foster care. But we have an awful lot of children that are in foster care that need psychiatric residential care, and they're not receiving it. I have kids all over the United States, Arkansas, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, in psychiatric hospitals because we don't have the capacity here. And so there needs to be capacity built with mental health for children, especially those children that are in foster care, so they can remain in their community. I think it's a travesty that we have to take a child and move them out of state, away from their families, because they're having psychological issues. And so there's much need there in terms of mental health. I think having crisis service is great, but what we see is that citizens need long-term help. A 30-day substance abuse program is not going to help. Most individuals who need as much as 6 months to a year
Yes.
of residential substance abuse treatment. So I think I definitely don't, because I work for the commissioner, so I definitely don't want to downplay the need for 911 and crisis. It's very much needed. But there's a broader discussion about mental health in general, as it relates to foster children, as it relates to what we see in families that we're involved with protective services, especially those that have substance abuse issues. Short term is great, but what do you do in the long term? And most need long-term help. So that would be my
Ms.
thought.
Jackson, what do you want to leave our audience with today? Because we want to give you the opportunity to let them know how they can support your office in this community.
Well, I think I want to leave citizens with look out for lots of information coming your way, and understanding that when they hear HR 1, that is the one big, beautiful bill. I think we get so caught up, the government gets so caught up in naming things, and I don't want individuals to not know what's happening. When they hear HR 1, when they hear the one big, beautiful bill, their ears need to perk up. They need to listen. They need to be reading the information. We will be coming out. That's the message I want to leave. We're coming out with a communication plan where we're going to be talking about HR 1 and the one big, beautiful bill. This is not time to sit home. You need to come out. You need to hear. You need to listen, to upzone, and stay involved and engaged in what's getting ready to happen. So I hope you all will invite me to come back again, or my team to come back again, because this is a message that needs to be communicated starting now until all of this bill is implemented. There are sweeping changes coming, and the community needs to know about it.
Truly, I believe that your organization is one of the most important, if not the most important, next to our healthcare providers in our community. Because if you all falter, this entire community suffers and struggles. So we'll be praying for you. We absolutely would love to have you back. Mr. Floyd, do you have anything you want to say to Ms. Jackson before we?
Thank you, D. Brenda Jackson. Thank you so much.
Brenda Jackson.
Sweet.
Enjoy
Right.
your day, ma'am.
Okay, thank you all again, and thank you for having me on the Up Zone.
Our pleasure. Thank you for coming.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So, Mr. Floyd, I'm glad that she came and spoke with us today, because I think that is very important for our audience to hear what's on the horizon. And I do want to reinforce to everybody, this is not just about the people who are receiving the benefits. This is going to affect our entire community, our entire nation. Mr. Floyd, what else you got for us this morning?
Now, Tish, if you don't mind, I received a wonderful communication from Councilperson Malik Davis as it relates to a zoning matter, that we had in our community, and why he voted the way that he did vote, though it was in opposition to his constituents, because none of his constituents came up in support of the zoning request. So
Okay.
you are a former council person, and I just want to thank the city staff for writing that boilerplate message for him.
Well, what was the
Uh, uh,
message?
the message was, in summary, of the reason why he voted the way that he did, and that was because after reviewing staff information that they provided for him. Now, the community had been in 6 to 7 meetings, and no one in those meetings, including the planning board, denied the request. And at the first meeting of the council, the planning board, the staff did not even include the planning board recommendation in
Of the
their
denial.
yeah, in their
So,
report.
Mr. Floyd, what you're saying is that he essentially said that he voted based upon staff's recommendation?
Yes, yes, but it goes back.
I told you that. I told you our city manager is
Why?
the greatest politician on the city of Fayetteville. I told you.
Well,
I
you're
told you
right. I
if the
mean,
staff can if staff influences how the councils make their decision, if they and not influences, because you should take in the information that the staff presents. But at the end of the day, if your decision is based solely on the recommendation of the staff,
what Teach, what look at this, Teach. Now, the same board that denied the request, okay, but this is also the same board that you are asking to make policy changes as it relates to data center.
well, but Mr.
So
Floyd, this is also the same board that said that a gas station was on over there by MacArthur was in line with the city land use plan when you look at the city land use plan and it did not directly indicate that. So I just I don't hold out a lot of hope for this board to be able to um, make meaningful
uh,
impact.
well, what Teach, now, whatever happened, what I like for you to, if you have friends in the Murchison Road area, if you can talk with them about buying earplugs and also buying a mask there as it relates to data center because you heard it said it's coming whether you like it or not.
Yeah, but where is
And
there
our
enough space on the Murchison Road corridor
it
to
don't
put a
make
data
that teach
center?
it doesn't make any difference. If there's a part of land, okay, if there's a part of land, zone or unzoned, if that person wants that land to be rezoned to accommodate a data center, and it's going to come in the least area that's going to have the least opposition. Now, I cannot blame the man. You might have a different with man, and I respect that. But I'm going to get me the best lawyer that has the best relationship with the council to have that land zone so I can have my data center built next door to your house.
Well,
I'm sorry.
well,
Let's be
Mr. Flood, I
realistic.
think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that I'm going to tell you one thing that I really appreciate Miss Jackson saying. I appreciated her coming in general, but one thing that really stood out to me is the conversation, excuse me, about the living wage. And I will say it like this: I firmly believe that our community is missing a conversation about income disparity because one of the things that we continue to not talk about. And I'll say this: I went by the numbers and I presented it in one of the debates when I was running for mayor. I talked about how when you look at the cost of employment versus the cost of unemployment to the individual, oftentimes a person who is unemployed makes more money brings more money into their household than the person who is employed. And when you look at it, and I used Amazon as the analogy, at the rate of pay that was reported to me as their rate of pay, which I think was about $18 at about less than 30 hours a week. When I used that, and then I added up the services that a person who is unemployed is the benefactor of, and I gave the example of having two children. It was more cost effective to be on the system than it was to go to work. And it's not that people don't want to go to work, they can't afford to go to work. Because and I'm going through this right now with somebody that I'm advocating for, trying to help them be able to maintain gainful employment. And all of the factors are against them in maintaining gainful employment because the system, first of all, is very fragmented in how it works. So you've got DSS, you've got the schools, you've got um, you've got all these different pieces that don't have a central connection point that helps to support this parent. But then you've got a parent who's got kids who have to go to daycare, who have there's a cost associated to that. And then like there's all this stuff where it's like this parent is now looking saying, it makes more sense for me not to work. Financially,
Well,
it makes more sense for me not to work. And we have to, as citizens of this community, we have to face the fact that that is a reality. And until we face that reality and we deal with that reality, there is no solution to people being on the system. There's no solution because nobody is having a conversation about how we incentivize and encourage companies to provide substantial wage increases to their employees, to provide benefits to their employees. We're just going saying we'll bring in a data center that'll hire 5 people, but it'll be a benefit to the community because it'll increase the property tax rate.
that's what they look at, T. They look at, because most governments, as you well know, that their income come from property tax. Okay. So the more apartments they build, that's income tax driven. The more business comes in, they're going to pay a greater property tax on that business. Okay. Now, though they're only going to hire 5 people or 20 people at the most, and what some say that they are most the custodian cutting the grass and keeping the place clean around there. You know, so when we look at the data center, and the thing that got me is when they had the first meeting, I think that was in December or January. You talk about a man that is paid to bring industry into your community. That's his job, is to bring industries in. And you thought that he was gonna make a suggestion that say that data center is not beneficial to a community. No, he's getting paid for that. And so, but if you look at the data center and what's in 301, you have what? A landfill, you have a trash dump, okay? You have them gasoline trains, whatever they are, down there on Murchison Road by the gas tank, by the gas refinery. There's about 20 black train cars that's parked there unloading, I think, some kind of gas. So when you look at it, this is just another blip to our community. And I don't see, you know, but what ought to happen in that process is that we not provide the incentive. They say you come. But for the senator, we're not going to give you the incentive that we will give another business that's coming in that's going to generate more jobs.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's going to happen? Where they're going to locate it at? It's going to be located in poor minorities communities. It's like so, you know, but we don't see that until afterwards. The stage has been playing right now, and there are persons on the council that is going to move it in that direction, even if it has an adverse effect on the community. Because what they're looking at is increasing the taxes. And again, we are having a decline in population because you notice that we lost 112, uh, uh, 112 students, but some said 200. So, which one is true, which one is not. But I don't think that the data center is a good process. But then again, Tish, they asked for a moratorium. So what's the difference between a moratorium at a year than what they doing now is asking the I would call it the joint planning board, the planning commission to help develop policy. That's the process that may take a year. So what's the difference? You just want to be in control by not saying that you want to have a moratorium, but you're going through the same process as a moratorium.
Well, the difference is a moratorium means we're not moving on this for at least this amount of time.
But you're
And we've
working
and
on
we've
it.
and we've solidified that we're not moving on this for this amount of time. The other is perfunctory. It's performatory. It's performatory, not perfunctory. It's performatory. It's just performance. It's just performance, Mr. Floyd. It's just performative. When you see performative action and you see substantive action side by side, it's easy to tell which is which. Substantive action is moratorium. That is language that says no movement until at least this date. Performative says let's study. they've already got their mind made up. So the let's study
Mm.
is just language to say to the community, we're looking into this, when in all actuality, they've got their mind made up. If they didn't have
Mm.
their mind made up, you're right. A moratorium would not be so devastating to accept because it should take the better part of at least a year to do their due diligence for something so new with such a vast impact. But the difference, again, when you have substantive action next to performative action, it is easy to be able to tell which is the performative action
But let me say this, Tisha. I know we
if you're
might
paying
not have to close.
attention.
You know, the school system, rush to judge. You know, that's what the school system did. Although they hired a consultant, they went out of
I'm
a
gonna play devil's advocate and I'm gonna say they just made an error that they then turned around and corrected.
well, they would not have made that area if they did not come out of a committee meeting into a board meeting. They would have had the meeting
They
on
made an
on the
error.
26th.
Yes.
They
Yes.
would have had the meeting on the 26th, which was scheduled. So what I'm simply saying there, a rush to judgment.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I want to say.
Yes.
So that's what we're doing with this data center.
Rushing to
We're rushing it
judgment.
through. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I want to
But
make
when
sure
it
our
comes down
community
to our
doesn't rush to
community,
judgment. Yeah.
when it comes down to our community, it's going to be located in a minority community. 302,
Mr. Floyd, can I
303,
ask you a
305.
question?
Yes, ma'am.
Why do people keep asking us not to talk about council members?
Well, Keith, I'm gonna say this, and the person that said this to me, I'm gonna say this the same thing. You know, you can't control a person's conversation. You know, I, I don't spend all my time talking for you. I don't do that. I try to provide information to the community so they can see what you are doing.
Right.
Now,
And
on
why
the
don't these council members, if these council members don't want us speaking about them, why don't they come on and speak for themselves?
well, because they got to have a written script prepared by somebody else to tell them what to say, when to say, and how to say it.
See, because I think if I were a member of a board, and if first of all, let me say this: I think the fact that people ask us to stop talking about folks means that they believe that people are listening to what we say. So let me just
Yes.
first say that. So if that's the case, if I believe that people are listening to what you say, instead of me perpetually allowing you to speak for me, I'm going to reach out to you because we've already said we have an open door policy. Any member of any board that wishes to come and state their piece is welcome to do so within reason. Now, you're not about to come on here and be disrespectful and nasty and degrading to us or to our audience. However, if you want to come on,
Yeah.
you're welcome to. But that instead of that, we get people in the community coming up to us saying,
Yeah.
"Y'all
I,
stop talking
I
about
mean,
me."
but Tish, you know what, Tish? We're having council. I mean, Commissioner Tyson to come on next week. Okay.
Yes.
He introduced he made a request.
And
Okay.
he's willing to
Whether
come
you
and
like
talk
it or not,
about it.
yeah. Now he is presenting that request. Okay.
Right.
Now on the city council side, it comes as an agenda item. You don't
They
know
hide
where
behind
it's
staff.
originated.
Yeah, they hide behind
Yeah,
their
you don't
staff.
know where it was originated at. So let's say the first person that want to change the policy, then that person should be the person that introduced that policy change.
Now, let me say this: if it's something that they feel is going to get them good press, they're quick to say, "This is my idea. I brought this forward." But when it's something that could be considered contentious, they do that quietly.
Yeah, I mean, so that's what I would like to see. I would like to see a council person that want to change something will be the person that carried that policy change, not put on as an item to adjourn.
Well, Floyd, what do you
So
want to
that
leave our people with today?
well, I just hate the person asked us that we have to stop talking about Malik Davis.
They
He
don't
is
ever
a
ask me. They always come to you. They never ask
yeah.
me. They always come
I
to
mean,
you.
Teach. Well, let me say this, Teach. If I'm sitting out there in the audience and I see none of my constituents come up and support a project, all along are
Y'all
against
can
it.
vote for that. I'm not. Yeah.
I'm not voting for it. I mean, this is a shrewd politician now. I'm not voting for this
And if
anyway.
I'm going to vote for it, my reason is not going to be because staff said I should. My reason is going
Yeah.
to be because this is what I truly believe and feel, and this is how I understand that it is going to benefit our community. And in this
Mm.
instance, I have to stand on my conviction, but your conviction cannot be staff's recommendation. But that's just
Well,
my 2 cents for what it's worth.
well, that's all I have to say, T, is that when you do things like that, the community ought to know. When you had your constituents there for 8 months in meetings and you slapped them in the face. But the thing was so well organized is that Councilperson Hunter didn't even allow Malik to even make a motion for or against. He jumped up in his seat and was so happy to make the motion. And Malik could have made the motion and
Oh, they
and,
had
and,
that
and
worked
said,
out already. They had
yeah.
already
But
worked that
anyway,
out.
that's what I will continue to talk. And they said that you planning on running against Malik. I said, if no one else want to run, at least if my constituent ask me not to vote for something and they're 100% behind not voting for it, I'm not that stupid, Tisha. I don't care what
Yeah.
staff say or what you say. I'm voting against that because my community don't want it.
Yeah. And I
But
really
anyway,
like the person that you said brought that to you, but I think that it's important to note
no, it
that
brought it to
sometimes
someone
you're
else. It brought it to someone
okay.
else.
Yeah, and it's important to note that that connectivity, that overlap sometimes should cause us to say, I'm going to sit this one out because my original concern when Malik was first elected was his proximity to the mayor. And his
Well,
proximity to the mayor was presented to me based upon his relationship with that person you're talking about. And that
well,
person is reinforcing by coming and saying that they're reinforcing that concern for me. And I don't like that feeling, Mr. Floyd. I don't like that feeling because I want to believe that Malik is making bad decisions because he's just making bad decisions, not
well,
because he's affected or influenced by the mayor.
well, let me say this to you. I had one person in this zoning matter make a statement to me. Okay. I'm not calling names, one person in closing. Malik asked me the identical statement to myself and to my neighbor. That set the tone to me, just like what you had just mentioned. There was some communication made
Y'all
beforehand.
talking because it ain't no way y'all
Okay.
both asked me the very same
The
question the very
same,
same way.
the
Yeah, ain't no
same
way.
question. The same question. But anyway,
That's why sometimes
you
we need to be quiet. So I don't even have today, I don't even have closing words because I'm convinced that this system doesn't want Jesus. They don't want justice, they don't want righteousness, and they don't want Jesus. They just want to do what they want to do. Republicans, Democrats, the lot of them, they just want to do what they want to do. And they want to hide behind whatever they want to hide behind to make it seem like it's a good idea. So I don't have anything to say.
well, Madam Waddell, I shall see you next week, the same
Good
time.
deal.
And have a good
Good deal.
weekend.
Lord willing, like, share, subscribe, follow, tell a friend to tell a friend. We'll catch you on the next episode.